everybody, it's Stacie Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource, and today I wanted to talk about waiving deadlines. So if you have signed an agency agreement with a realtor, with an agent to advise you, talk to your agent. I am not your agent unless you have signed an agreement with me, but general advice or just information on waiving deadlines. In a crazy seller's market, it is very, very common for buyers to waive some of their deadlines. So here in the state of Colorado, I don't have a handy dandy contract in front of me. I'm in the office doing some other stuff today. So in the state of Colorado, we have Section 3 of the contract, which is dates and deadlines. They are right to perform or right to object or terminate, right to terminate. The buyer has multiple rights to object or to terminate the contract for many reasons. Sellers don't like this for obvious reasons because that means that the buyer can get out. Most of the time they have the right to get their earnest money back depending on what they object for and when they do it and all that kind of stuff. But it's very common in an extreme seller's market for buyers to start waiving deadlines and saying, seller, I won't terminate the contract because of inspection, and I waive my right to inspect, and I waive my right to appraisal, and I waive my right to this and all that, and please God, just let me buy the house. Okay, please have a good agent, because an agent advising you to waive deadlines if you don't understand what you're waiving or what it can cost you or what you're risking is very, very, very bad. I am not a fan of waiving deadlines. Certain scenarios it makes sense. For certain clients it makes sense. If you are a flipper, if you are an investor, if you are a seasoned real estate purchase and sailor, if you have done this process more than a handful of times and you know what you're looking at, or you're very familiar with houses, or if you're in construction, or if you're in, plumber, something like that, and you know what you're looking at, you want to waive your right to inspect. Fine. Well, it's in Colorado, it's waive the right to object to the inspection. So you can have an inspection. You just can waive your right to say, hey, I have a problem because of the inspection. So at least you know what you're going into. We also now have an inspection termination deadline because people were waiving their right to object, so they created a right to terminate. Anyway, so you can do your inspection if you maintain your termination deadline and say, hey, I want to do an inspection. Seller, I'm going to offer you this money. I want to buy your house. I'm going to inspect it, but I'm not going to ask you for anything. If I got a problem, I'm just going to kill the deal and I'm just going to terminate. So I'm not going to ask you to fix anything or for any money. I'm either taking it or I'm not. Okay? That's a bare minimum for me, guys. Like, you need to have an out unless you really, really, really know what you're buying. So, and a lot of agents will say, oh, but you have a loan termination deadline and you can always just terminate because of your loan. Even if we find something on the inspection, we just have to wait another week or so. And it's like, okay, guys, there's a section called good faith of the contract. And if there's any reason that the seller suspects that you terminated based on inspection issue and you waive that deadline, you can lose your earnest money. So I don't like to play that game, but some agents will advise that, and that or waive your loan termination deadline. If you're getting a loan, you might not want to do that, because if you lose your job, if you are planning on the money coming out of a stock account and the stock market crashes and you don't have your down payment money, something like that, there's some big gifts there. Or if you haven't locked your rate, if you're very confident in your lender, you're very confident in your loan, and you want to say, hey, I'm gonna risk my earnest money, because that's what you're risking, unless you're checking specific performance, which is different issue, different video. If you want to risk your earnest money because you're that confident in your loan, great. That's a way to stand out. But you need to know that you're risking your earnest money. And for some houses, that's anywhere between, $3 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand on a high-end house. So you need to know what's at risk there before you just start, willy-nilly waiving deadlines. But please just understand, ask your agent. If your agent advises you, well, first of all, read your offer that you're signing. Most people don't even read an offer. They just sign it. It's like, guys, read it. Have your agent read it to you. Say, hey, what am I doing, by the way? What am I promising in these 20 pages of legal documentation? But if you are waiving deadlines, be sure you understand what they are, what the risk is, what you are risking as far as potential loss of earnest money if you don't perform or terminate the contract for other reasons, or for that reason if you've already waived the deadline. And just understand that. It's not it doesn't mean anything. It's not that big of a deal. If it's in the contract, it's there for a reason. Unfortunately, half the contract is there because somebody sued somebody over something that was dumb, and so now it's in there. And that's why it's 20 pages. But still, get good advice. Ask your agent. If they're advising something that you don't understand, ask them to explain it. If you still don't understand, ask them to explain it a different way. And if you still don't get it, ask them to have somebody else explain it, okay? You are buying something that is very, very expensive and very important. And a lot of people get miffed in this process because they don't ask enough questions. Or they're taking advice without fully understanding what's being recommended to them and what's being risked. So that's just my thought on waiving deadlines. I'm not a huge fan of it. For certain people, certain scenarios that understand that risk and they're willing to take it, it's a way to stand out. But just my 2 cents on it. So as I mentioned, my job is always to promote and protect my clients' interests with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. I like to work as an agent. That is how I prefer to work. So that is what I'm always going to advise. But if you are looking to buy or sell in the Denver metro area and would be interested in interviewing me for the position, I'd love the opportunity. My contact information is on my website. Link for that is down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so. I'd greatly appreciate it. Hopefully y'all are finding this information helpful and beneficial in your home search process or home sale process. And if you have any more comments or questions, you can feel free to leave them down below in the comments too. So thanks so much for the time, guys. Have a great day.